Olivia sighed as she unlocked the front door, stepping into the dimly lit house. Her shoulders ached from another exhausting day at work. The silence of the house greeted her, a reminder of the loneliness she had grown accustomed to over the years. Ever since her husband's passing, life had become a never-ending cycle of responsibilities. The only bright spot in her life was her 22-year-old son, Ethan. Ethan noticed his mother's tired expression as she set down her purse. "Mom, you look exhausted," he said, concern filling his voice. She gave him a small smile, trying to mask her fatigue. "It's just been a long day, sweetheart." "Sit down," he insisted, gently guiding her toward the couch. "You need to relax." Olivia chuckled softly. "And how do you suggest I do that?" Ethan grinned. "Let me give you a massage. It'll help." She hesitated for a moment but then nodded, sinking into the couch. Ethan sat behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders, his fingers pressing into her tense muscles. The moment he started, Olivia let out a deep breath. "You're really good at this," she murmured, closing her eyes. Ethan chuckled. "I've seen you work so hard for years, Mom. You deserve to be taken care of too." His touch was firm yet gentle, melting away the stress that had built up in her body. For the first time in a long while, Olivia allowed herself to relax. A wave of warmth spread through her, not just from the massage but from the love and care her son showed her. "You know," she whispered, "your dad used to do this for me when I was tired." Ethan paused for a moment before continuing. "I wish I remembered more about him." Olivia opened her eyes, sadness flickering across her face. "He would have been so proud of you." As Ethan moved his hands lower, pressing against the knots in her back, he suddenly felt something beneath the couch cushion. "Wait, what's this?" he asked, pulling out a small, dust-covered envelope. Olivia frowned. "I don't remember putting anything there." She took the envelope, her hands shaking as she carefully opened it. The moment her eyes scanned the handwriting, she gasped. This is from your father," she whispered, her heart pounding. Ethan's eyes widened. "What does it say, Mom?" Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she began reading the letter, unaware that its words would change everything. Olivia's hands trembled as she unfolded the fragile letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. It belonged to her late husband, James. Her heart pounded as she traced the ink with her fingers, memories flooding back. Ethan leaned in, his curiosity growing. "What does it say, Mom?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Olivia swallowed hard and began reading aloud. "My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, fate has finally led you to my words. I know by now, life has taken you down a road I can't walk beside you. But if there's one thing I want, it's for you to be happy. Don't let my absence turn your heart cold. Love is meant to be felt again, even if it's not with me. Promise me you won't close your heart forever. One day, someone will come along who deserves your love. When that time comes, don't push them away." Tears streamed down Olivia's face. Her breath hitched as she clutched the letter to her chest. "James wrote this for me, but I never found it." Ethan's eyes softened as he wrapped an arm around his mother. "Maybe it was meant to be found now, Mom. Maybe Dad wanted you to see this at the right time." Olivia shook her head, her emotions in turmoil. For years, she had buried herself in work, raising Ethan alone, refusing to even think about moving on. But now James's words made her question everything. Had she really denied herself happiness all this time? Ethan wiped away a tear from her cheek. "Mom, do you think Dad was right? That maybe you deserve to be happy again?" She hesitated before whispering, "I don't know, Ethan. I've lived so long in this routine. I don't even remember what love outside of grief feels like." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Then maybe it's time to find out." Olivia looked down at the letter once more, her heart heavy, yet strangely lighter at the same time. James had given her permission, no a wish, for her to open her heart again. But was she ready to take that step? She had no idea that the answer would come sooner than she expected. The next morning, Olivia sat at the dining table, staring at the letter in her hands. She had read it over and over, feeling James's words wrap around her heart, like a whisper from the past. Could she really open herself to love again? The idea scared her, yet a part of her longed for the warmth she had denied herself for years. "Mom," Ethan said as he placed a cup of tea in front of her, "maybe you should go out today. Do something for yourself. She let out a soft chuckle. Like what? Go to your favorite cafe. You used to love spending time there. Olivia hesitated, then nodded. Maybe a change of scenery would help clear her mind. A few hours later, she walked into Maplewood Cafe, the place where she and James used to sit for hours, lost in conversation. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. She found an empty table near the window, allowing herself to soak in the familiar comfort. As she took a sip of her coffee, a deep voice interrupted her thoughts. Olivia. She turned, her breath catching in her throat. Standing before her was Daniel Carter, her childhood best friend. His dark eyes sparkled with the same warmth she remembered, and though time had touched his features with subtle lines, his smile was just as she had left it decades ago. Daniel, she whispered, disbelief washing over her. I can't believe it's you, he said, his smile widening. It's been 20 years? At least, Olivia murmured, still stunned. Daniel pulled out the chair across from her. May I? She nodded, feeling a strange flutter in her chest as he sat down. They talked, and with every word, Olivia felt herself slipping into a forgotten comfort. Daniel told her about his life, his travels, how he had moved back to town recently. She shared stories of Ethan, of her struggles and triumphs. At one point, Daniel reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. I never thought I'd see you again, Olivia. She felt her heart skip a beat. She had spent so many years believing love was a closed chapter. But here, sitting across from Daniel, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. Hope. And for the first time in years, Olivia wondered if James had been right. Maybe love wasn't over for her. Maybe it was just beginning again. Olivia couldn't stop smiling. The hours she spent with Daniel felt like stepping into the past. Except now, there was something different, something deeper. She had forgotten what it was like to enjoy someone's presence without the weight of grief. As they walked out of the cafe, Daniel glanced at her with a playful smirk. You know, I always thought we'd meet again someday. But I never imagined it would be like this. Olivia chuckled. Neither did I. He hesitated for a moment before asking, would you like to have dinner with me? I'd love to catch up more. Her heart pounded. A part of her wanted to say no, to retreat back into the comfort of solitude. But then she remembered James's letter. Don't push love away. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. I'd like that. That evening, as she got ready, Ethan leaned against her bedroom door with a knowing smile. Mom, you look nervous. She sighed, glancing at her reflection. It's been so long since I've done something like this. Ethan walked over and squeezed her hand. Dad wanted you to be happy. It's okay to take a chance. His words gave her the courage she needed. When she arrived at the restaurant, Daniel was already waiting for her. He stood as she approached, his gaze soft. You look beautiful, Olivia. She felt a warmth spread through her. Thank you. As they ate, their conversation flowed effortlessly. Daniel made her laugh in a way she hadn't in years. He shared stories about his adventures, and she talked about raising Ethan alone. Then his expression grew serious. Olivia, I know this might be too soon, but I want to be honest. Seeing you again has made me realize how much I missed you. She held her breath as he reached for her hand across the table. His touch sent a wave of emotions through her, nervousness, excitement, and something she hadn't felt in a long time, desire. I don't know where this will go, Daniel admitted, but I'd like to find out if you're willing. Olivia stared into his eyes, her heart racing. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of the future. Maybe love hadn't abandoned her after all. Maybe it had just been waiting for the right moment to return. Olivia's heart pounded as she stared into Daniel's eyes. The warmth in his gaze, the sincerity in his voice. It was overwhelming in the best way possible. For years, she had convinced herself that love was a chapter long closed. Yet here she was, standing on the edge of something new, something terrifyingly beautiful. Taking a deep breath, she smiled. I'm willing, Daniel. His face lit up with relief and happiness. He squeezed her hand gently, his thumb brushing against her skin in a way that sent a shiver through her. I was hoping you'd say that. The evening stretched into the night, filled with laughter, stolen glances, and soft touches that spoke of something more. When they finally stepped out of the restaurant, the cool night air wrapped around them. Daniel hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Can I walk you home?" Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." As they walked side by side, Daniel slipped his hand into hers. It was a simple gesture, yet it felt like a promise. Neither of them spoke much on the way back, but the silence between them was comfortable, filled with unspoken emotions. When they reached Olivia's doorstep, she turned to him, feeling her pulse quicken. "Tonight was special." Daniel smiled. "It was. And I hope it's just the beginning." She took a deep breath then, before she could overthink it, she leaned in and placed a soft kiss on his cheek. "Good night, Daniel." His eyes darkened slightly with emotion, but he didn't push for more. He simply smiled, squeezing her hand one last time. "Good night, Olivia." As she stepped inside, Olivia leaned against the door, her heart racing. For the first time in years, she felt alive again. Ethan peeked out from the living room, a teasing grin on his face. "So, how was it?" She rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress the smile tugging at her lips. "It was nice." Ethan walked over and hugged her. "I'm happy for you, Mom." Tears pricked her eyes as she hugged him back. Maybe James had been watching over her all along. Maybe his letter had found her at the right time for a reason. Love wasn't gone. It had just been waiting for her to be ready again. And for the first time in years, Olivia was ready.